Have you ever felt tired of being yourself? Not tired in the dramatic sense, not exhausted because life is hard, but quietly tired, like something inside you has been holding itself together for too long. You wake up, you do what you need to do, you talk, you smile, you function, but somewhere underneath all of that, there's a sense of distance from yourself, as if the person you're living as is slightly unfamiliar, and maybe you can't even explain it properly. You know that something feels off. This moment, when you don't know who you are anymore, is more common than we admit. And today I want to talk about that space. Not to fix it, not to label it as good or bad, but to understand what is actually happening inside you. Sometimes we think losing ourselves means something went wrong, but often it means something ended. Carl Jung once said that many psychological struggles begin when we identify too strongly with a role we had to become. The responsible one, the strong one, the good one, the one who doesn't cause trouble, the one who survives. At some point in life, this role was necessary. It helped you belong, it helped you be loved, it helped you stay safe. But over time, something subtle happens. The role becomes automatic, and the self becomes quieter. You don't consciously choose who you are anymore. You just continue. And then one day you realize, I don't know where I am in all of this. Freud would say that much of this happens unconsciously. We adapt before we understand. We adjust before we reflect. As children especially, we learn very early what is acceptable, which emotions are welcomed, which emotions are ignored, which emotions are punished. So parts of us go underground, not because they are wrong, but because they didn't feel safe to exist openly. And adulthood often looks like this. You're not unhappy, but you're not deeply alive either. You're not broken, but you're not whole. And that confusion, that numbness, that sense of who am I really, is not a failure, it's a signal. Krishnamurti spoke often about how society conditions us, not violently, not loudly, but gently, through expectations, through comparison, through reward and punishment. He said we are taught what to be long before we are allowed to discover who we are. And when you live too long from what you should be, the inner voice weakens, not because it disappears, but because it hasn't been listened to. Imagine speaking softly in a room full of noise for years. Eventually, you would stop trying. That's what happens inside many people. And so when someone says, I don't know who I am anymore, what they often mean is, I stopped hearing myself. Not because you don't have a self, but because you haven't been in a relationship with it. And here is an important truth. Losing your sense of self is not the same as losing yourself. One is confusion, the other is absence. You are not absent, you are just between identities. Rumi spoke about this in a poetic way. He often wrote about breaking, melting, and dissolving, not as destruction, but as transformation. There is a voice that doesn't use words, he said. Listen. When you feel lost, that doesn't mean you are empty. It often means something deeper is rearranging, like a snake shedding its skin, not because it failed, but because it outgrew its old form. Psychologically, this phase appears when old motivations stop working, external validation feels hollow, achievement doesn't bring meaning, distraction stops soothing you, and silence feels uncomfortable because silence brings you closer to yourself. And if you've been away from yourself for a long time, that closeness can feel unfamiliar, even threatening. Many people try to escape this moment. They rush to redefine themselves, new goals, new identities, new labels. But that often recreates the same pattern, because the question is not, who should I become? The real question is, what have I been avoiding feeling? Jung believed that the parts of us we reject don't disappear. They wait.
They return as anxiety, as restlessness, as emptiness, as fatigue, not to punish us, but to be acknowledged. So when you don't know who you are anymore, it may be because your inner life is asking for honesty, not productivity, not reinvention, honesty. Here's something gentle but important. You don't discover yourself by thinking harder. You discover yourself by listening longer, by noticing what drains you, what softens you, what feels forced, what feels natural. Your identity is not an idea, it's a relationship. And like any relationship, it needs attention, patience, and safety. You might ask, but what if I don't like what I find? That fear is common, but here's the truth. Your authentic self is not cruel, it's not dramatic, it's not chaotic. It's usually tired and honest and quiet. Most people don't meet a monster inside.
They meet a neglected part. So here is the gentle reframe. When you don't know who you are anymore, it doesn't mean you're lost. It means the version of you that survived is no longer enough for the version of you that wants to live. And that's not a crisis. That's a transition. You don't need to rush this phase. You don't need answers immediately. You don't need a new identity. What you need is permission to not know, without judging yourself for it. To sit with the uncertainty without trying to escape it. To let yourself be undefined for a while. Because something real is forming there. And maybe the most important thing to remember is this. You don't need to find yourself. You need to stop abandoning yourself. Even for a few quiet moments a day. Even by listening instead of fixing. Even by being kind to your confusion. So if you're in that space right now, where you don't know who you are anymore, let me leave you with this thought. Maybe you're not disappearing. Maybe you're finally making space for the part of you that was never allowed to arrive. And maybe that's where your real life begins. If this felt familiar to you, you're welcome to stay here. These are conversations we continue